How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy, your electric geek, and today we have for review Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds. Before I say anything more about the film and that, I probably should apologise for how I sound. I've just gotten over a bit of the flu there, but I'm here. I still wanted to do a video, so I'm not quite back to full health, but I'm still here getting a video done for you, so hit that like button and think about subscribing if you haven't done already. So in today's video, I'll briefly discuss my thoughts on the film itself, then I'll do a fairly in-depth unboxing of the collector's edition so you can see what's inside it, and I'll film it all in 4K so you can get a really good close-up detailed look at it. Then we'll talk about the much debated video quality, and then onto the audio quality, so that ultimately I can help you come to the decision of whether or not you should pick this up on 4K or not, especially if you're someone who already owns the 1080p Blu Ray. So before we do the unbox, let's talk a little bit about the film itself. So Inglourious Basterds is obviously a Quentin Tarantino movie, and I would say it's a top tier Tarantino movie. It's certainly one of my favourites. I hadn't actually noticed until watching some of the special features that it isn't even spelt correctly. And obviously I'd noticed that Bastards is spelt with an E instead of an A, but I always thought that was to do with censorship. I didn't realise it was actually because Tarantino deliberately misspelt it so that it was different from the 78 film of the same name that it was kind of loosely inspired by. So I found that quite interesting, and I can't believe I'd slept on that up until now. I'd never noticed it. And it's a great movie. I watched it again the other night. If you follow me on Instagram, remember you can follow me on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll notice I watched it the other night. Really enjoyed it. I forgot how much I enjoyed it, so I'm glad I picked it up in some kind of format. But yeah, the film's absolutely awesome. If you haven't seen it, make sure you get out and see it. It's currently on Netflix, I think, so if you haven't seen it and before you take the dive in any kind of format, you just want to watch the film, look it up on Netflix, because it's definitely one of Tarantino's best and you should definitely give it a watch. That's enough about the film though. I think the time has come to unbox the collector's edition, and I've got some things to say about this collector's edition, but you'll find out. Right, first thing I have to talk about, because I think it's quite controversial and annoying, is that for some reason in this release they have decided to change the graphic for the title. Now if you look, hold it up there, they've basically done away with the swastika, and that's across the whole packaging. They've changed it into like a blooded gunshot. Now I believe this might be because of the laws with regards the swastika in Germany. So it's maybe just to be culturally sensitive to Germany, which I totally get and appreciate. But that's the only reason, from having a quick look online, I can see why they've done that. But I think it's annoying as a collector. The old Blu Ray from 2009, you can still buy today, still has the original artwork with the swastika in it, and it's just so significant and iconic in relation to this film. Not that I'm glamorising the swastika, but I just think it's important stylistically for the film. So it's a real shame that they've decided to censor it, basically, off the box set, and you'll see more of that as we go on. But as I say, it's a limited edition box set, limited to 1,000, so this is copy 812, so it's pretty cool owning something that you know there's only 1,000 of, so I'm quite pleased with that. As I say, you go on the top. On the front you've got Lieutenant Aldo Rain, the Beardew and Stiglitz, and then on the back you've got Shoshana and Bridget von Hammersmark. So I think the box is pretty cool. Opening up, before we go into the contents, it's a rigid box, which I think is awesome. So if you watch my channel, you'll see I did the Thing unbox, and it was just a flimsy, like thin cardboard one, and you really have to be careful you don't damage it. So I think that's really good. Awesome that they give you one that's a bit sturdier. It's got a nice metallic finish off it, and I think the box is nice for this release. I'm quite impressed with the artwork, and I'm happy with it. Okay, so inside we have this Inglourious Basterds kind of file / wallet thing. Open it up, and that's got your and the cards as well, but it's got your main kind of postcard size artwork. So just some shots of the film, Aldo Rain, Hans Landa, more of the cast, that iconic scene at the beginning. So pretty cool, and on the back it's just more of that artwork that, as I say, is missing the swastika. This booklet, I think it's a 36-page booklet, and it's pretty nice, detailed, but the only problem is that it's just more images, which is fine, but I've got the film, I've already got images there. I think it would have been nicer if they had some text in here, some production notes. It's just a bit more interesting than just shots from the film. They're not even like behind the scenes, they're just taken from the movie, so it's not anything that you haven't seen before. So nice to have, but nothing really exciting, to be honest. But that's the booklet, so I can go back in there. And then you've got these cards with, again, more of the cast on, which is kind of fine, but I don't know, how many images do we need here? You've got the postcard ones, you've got these ones obviously, and then you've got a 36-page booklet with more images. I think they missed an opportunity with this. You know, the bar scene where they play that game where they put a famous person on their heads and they have to try and work it out. They could have done something with that, you know, maybe used the people that are used in the film itself. Not their images obviously, but just the same artwork, you know, the kind of post-it note. They maybe could have done that with the corresponding cast member or something. I don't know, just something that's a bit more interesting than just more cast stills, but that's just my view on it. And then on to the main event, which is obviously the Steelbook. I think the Steelbook's nice. You've also got Aldo Rain there, and he's standing on a body of dead Nazis. And what's annoying is that if you look there, you can see that they've got swastikas here on the party armbands on the different bodies. Albeit most of them are kind of obscure, they're not in full view, but you've look at that one. You've pretty much got swastikas, so why take it off that tiny little bit there? You know, here, I don't know, I don't get it. And on the back, again, you've got the kind of the emblem of Inglourious Basterds, which is good, but they've tried to be a bit creative and put a kind of score through it, like a bit of battle scar in there, which is alright, but if you probably haven't guessed already, I'm just a bit miffed about the lack of swastika. But if you take that away, I have to say, it's quite a nice Steelbook. It's just a matte finish, there's no embossing or debossing on it. But it's a nice image on the front, different emblem on the back, neat spine. And opening up, on top you've got the new 4K disc, which I'm pleased that they've done something, they've put something on the disc. More and more these days you're seeing just like the blank text and that, which is a bit lazy. I think if you spend this kind of money to get the physical copy, then you know they should go all out as much as they can. So I like the artwork. This is the artwork that's on the standard slipcase edition of the 4K and on the existing Blu Ray. So I'm glad it's included somehow, and it's on the discs for me anyway. I'm glad it's included somehow, and for me it'll be just on the disc itself. And then it's the same image, just zoomed in a bit on the Blu Ray, and I would imagine this will be the exact same. There'll be nothing different about this Blu Ray if you already own the 2009 release, I would imagine. Quite a cool image from the film, the Beardew and Aldo Rain about to mark up, and I'd say it was just pretty iconic. So yeah, quite happy with that work inside. It's a decent enough Steelbook. I think it's the same Steelbook that Best Buy did as an exclusive over in the US, just minus obviously all this extra kind of collector's memorabilia and whatnot. As a whole, I think the collector's edition is just okay. I think if you've got an older Blu Ray one, then there's absolutely no need to pick up this. I didn't have any copy of it, so I just wanted something kind of special. So yeah, the removal of the swastika is pretty annoying, and I think as far as a box set goes, I don't know what was on the other ones that came out with our initial Blu Ray release, but it's a bit picture heavy. We don't need a booklet, poster cards and playing cards, all of images. I think they could have been a bit more creative there and given us something to read, or you know, being a bit stylistically designed different wise with the cards as I mentioned earlier. But is it worth 40 quid? I don't think so. Happy I've got it because I don't have any kind of collector's edition for this film, but certainly not my favourite, and if you've already got some form of collector's edition, I couldn't recommend it if I'm honest. This particular collector's edition box set is a Zavvi exclusive, and it's actually one of two of these box sets. I think the second one doesn't come out until next month, but it is available to pre-order. And then you had an option to buy both. I think it was $89.99, but for me, $89.99 for any film of which you're just getting one film was a bit steep, especially for what they were offering box set wise. So I opted to go for just the #1 edition. Well, now you know my feeling on the collector's edition box set, and it's safe to say I was a little bit disappointed with it, but maybe the 4K disc will save it. Let's find out. So Inglourious Basterds 4K disc comes with a 2K DI, which is upscaled to 4K. Aspect ratio wise, it's in typical widescreen format, and it has black letterbox bars at the top and bottom of your screen. So when I watched the 4K disc, I wasn't blown away with it right away. I knew this isn't like going to be a demo disc or anything. It was just a nice presentation, and I was quite happy with it and enjoyed the movie. Then I stuck the Blu Ray in to start doing the comparison stuff for the video, and that's when I noticed that it wasn't really that much of an upgrade at all. The 4K is, in my opinion, the better disc, but just slightly. The detail is a little bit sharper, a little bit crisper on the 4K, especially when it comes to the wardrobe, because the uniforms in this film are beautiful, like the Nazi uniforms and the Allied ones. They'll just realise that bit better on the 4K, especially with the HDR to bring out the colours and the various medal ribbons and whatnot. The real difference in the discs is when it comes to the HDR presentation. So this image that I've got up on your screen now, you'll see there's an image top and bottom of a close-up of Brad Pitt as Aldo Rain. I'll give you a few seconds to have a look at them yourself and try and work out which you think is which. So the image on top is in fact the Blu Ray and the one below is the 4K. So the image on top, to me, and that's how I seen it when I watched it on my TV in my home cinema, looks a bit oversaturated and it just looks like it's got a tan. It's too orange, it's too warm, and it's a little bit unnatural. With that saying, it's not like massively unnatural. If you're watching the Blu Ray, you'd be quite happy with that, but once you see the 4K, you see the difference. The 4K one below is much more natural. It's not as overly saturated, and to my eye there is a little bit more detail, but I appreciate in these photos it's not that obvious. And I know it's not exactly a scientific experiment, but I just felt that the photos did show, certainly from the colour grading side of things, what I was kind of seeing, even if only crudely, just for the purpose of demonstration. So moving on to this next image, and it's kind of more of the same. So the one at the top is the Blu Ray and the one at the bottom is the 4K. So we've got Hitler here in his chamber with his two officers, and again you'll notice that certainly the map in the background is much more oversaturated in the top image, and it's a lot more natural looking in the bottom one, as is the whole image really. But if you look at Hitler's cape, you see it's quite bright. It's a vibrant red in both images, maybe more so slightly in the Blu Ray, but in both images that's vibrant red, whereas there's differences elsewhere. So that tells me that probably the 4K is a bit more natural, because that cape's supposed to be red, but maybe the rest of the image isn't supposed to be quite as vibrant and oversaturated as the cape. A little bit of black crush maybe on the Blu Ray one up top. If you look at the tiles out on the left hand side, you can see they're a little bit darker in comparison to the 4K below, and then again at the fireplace you can see that some of the tiling is actually almost missing and isn't visible compared to the 4K, which just seems to handle the shadow detail a little bit better. So that's a bit of a snapshot there of the main differences when it comes to the 4K and the Blu Ray visually anyway. It really comes down to HDR. I prefer the more realistic image of the 4K disc. Onto the audio, and again there's no difference here from the original Blu Ray release. We've still got the DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 track, and it's a really good track. There's no complaints there. It's a Tarantino film, so it's very, very dialogue driven. It's not one that's going to be a demo track by any means. It's not going to have loads of special effects, sound effects to try and render around your soundstage. However, that said, in every chapter he does tend to build with the dialogue in these intense scenes, and then he usually transitions quite abruptly to a really loud action scene with great effect. So when that happens, there is good dynamic range. It is a bit of a jolt to the system, especially like the bar scene, for example. When the shootout happens, there's bullets pinging all over your room, it seems like, and all those sound effects, bullet ricochets and whatnot, the gunfire, it really hits home and it makes that transition really palpable. Highlight for me though, being a big Bowie fan, is the beginning of chapter 5 when David Bowie's Cat People kicks in. The way that's mixed on the audio track is awesome. It just totally envelopes you, and it does make the hairs in the back of your neck stand up. It's a brilliant start to that chapter, and that for me is one of the highlights of the Inglourious Basterds soundtrack. But yeah, audio-wise, it might have been nice to see some object-based Atmos or DTSX, but much like the way they never bothered to do a native 4K scan, they don't seem to have bothered to update it. But not a massive issue, because like I say, it's not a big action special effects movie, so it probably wouldn't benefit too much from any height stuff. So to conclude, I don't think that the 4K Inglourious Basterds disc is really anything to be overly excited about, and I can totally understand why it's got some negative reviews. I still think it is the best way to view the film. However, it's not a massive upgrade over the Blu Ray at all. There's some differences with HDR, but you could argue it's not the definitively better way to see it, I would suggest. It's more realistic, but maybe more realistic isn't what this film needs, and maybe the kind of oversaturated Blu Ray presentation is a bit more in keeping thematically with it. So for Inglourious Basterds on 4K, I would have to give it, with regards to certainly the 4K disc, audio and video, I'd have to give it 2.5. I did, as I was watching it, think 3.5, but once I started looking at the Blu-ray and seeing how similar they were, and especially the fact that they've not bothered to change the audio as well, I've got to think about someone that's potentially got the Blu-ray, and I would say, as an upgrade, it's a 2.5. I enjoyed watching it, but there isn't much between the Blu-ray and the 4K. My recommendation would be that pick up the slipcase edition. I wasn't overly thrilled with the collector's edition, as you know. Get the slipcase edition. I reckon by Christmas you'll get that in HMV and Zavvi, probably in the 2 for 30 or maybe even the 3 for 30, so you might pick it up for a tenner or 15 quid, or just wait for it in a sale. I don't think you have to rush out and get it for 20 quid. That being said, if you just started collecting and budget's a bit of a concern and you just want to have a copy of Inglourious Basterds, then you can get the Blu-ray for about $7.99, probably even cheaper if you get it second hand. So I think for most, just picking up the Blu-ray is probably the sensible option. However, if you are a massive Quentin Tarantino fan or you just love this particular film, then I think getting it in 4K is worthwhile, but I'd maybe wait, like I said, until it comes down in price a little bit, because I don't think you'll be blown away, especially if you spend 20 quid for it, or close to 40 quid like I did for this. Quick word before I go about the special features. The original Blu-ray, which obviously comes with the 4K version, is absolutely rammed with some really good stuff in there, but there's nothing new, and I suppose it's quite cool that they've ported some of the special features from that disc over to the 4K one, except for the trailers, I think, but that's just really a convenience. They've not upscaled them, or they're not in 4K or anything like that. It's the exact same ones that are on the Blu-ray. I should mention that. Anyway, that concludes my review of Inglourious Basterds. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed the video and it's helped make your mind up as to whether or not to take the plunge with Inglourious Basterds on 4K, then please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel as well. I cover 4K Blu-ray, home cinema and gaming, and I've got plenty of content planned, so please hit that subscribe button and hit your notification bell on so you know when my next stuff's up and you don't miss out. I've currently got 92 subscribers at the time of filming, and my milestone is to get to 100, and when I do that I'm going to do a wee live stream and give away some Blu-rays and some digital copies of some of the films I've got, so please help me get there and consider subscribing to the channel. That's all I've got for you today, guys. As always, I really appreciate you watching. I've been Andy the Electric Geek. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.